Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, Ravindran sir, for your presentation.
Yes,
I think you have clearly highlighted the important points. Unfortunately, I think technically there were some issues. Your audio was not so very clear. I'm not very sure where exactly the problem lies. Anyways, I have quite a few Q&As, in fact, raised by the participants. I'm not very sure whether we can address all the queries, but at least 2-3 queries, I think we can do that. One is whether this IR code, will it be applicable to IT industries also? That is one question, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, so this IR code will be applicable to IT industries also, right?
Yes,
sir. And in case of trade unions of the contract workers, who has to recognize it? Whether the contractor has to recognize it or the principal employer?
Contractor.
So it is to be recognized by the contractor as far as the union of contract workers are concerned, right?
Yes,
sir. And when you say 300 threshold limit for applicability of the erstwhile chapter 5B, currently chapter 10, who are all the class of workers who are to be reckoned, considered, counted?
Except apprentices under the Apprentice Act, and also supervisors 18,000 and above, managers and administrative people. Everyone else will be covered.
So whoever is falling under the definition of the term workman, I think we may have to include.
Yes, correct.
Fine, sir. And 50%, I think the wage definition, now the exclusion portion cannot go beyond 50%. That is what you said. When we say 50%, is it on the gross or is it on the CTC? That is one question I received.
CT is not recognized in labor law.
Okay. So it is on the gross.
You are right.
Okay. So on the monthly gross, the exclusion part of the components, total sum of the components which are excluded cannot go beyond 50%, right?
You are right.
Yes, sir. And is the definition of wages, will it be different for different codes or is it uniform, sir?
I find it is uniform, fortunately.
Okay. Yeah, I also think so. In fact, the same definition is adopted in all the 4 codes. And one more question is very specific to container freight station. Will a container freight station be considered as an industry?
Yes, of course.
Okay, sir. I think quickly these are all the questions I have just noted down. There could be a few more questions, but we may not have time to address all those queries. And maybe whoever has raised queries, please send a mail if it is not addressed so that we can address that. Right now, we'll move on to the next speaker, Dr. Krishnamurthy, and he will be talking on code on wages. As far as Mr. Krishnamurthy is concerned, he is heading SR Mohandas and Associates, and he is a consultant and he is specializing in industrial relations and human resource management. And he did his post-graduation in management from Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management. And he has worked with L&T for 3 years. And again, he quit that job. Then he did PhD in management from the same institute. Thereafter, he did law. And he is currently practicing in Bombay High Court. And he is specializing in field of labor laws with over 3 decades of experience. And he is an advisor for a lot of companies. I think that absolutely there is no industry barrier. He remains as an advisor for banking sector, ITES, pharmaceutical, insurance, retail. I think the list goes on. And he is the son of Mr. S.R. Mohandas. He himself is a doyen and expert in the field of industrial relations, and his advice was much sought after. In fact, Dr. Krishnamurthy is also a director of the Industrial Relations Institute of India, and he is the editor of its monthly journal, Arbiter. And he has conducted several conferences, workshops, and seminars for different organizations and employer forums, EFI, National Institute of Personal Management, Baroda Management Association, and Bombay Management Association. And he has also done many programs, skill building programs, labor laws programs, sensitization, and specialist programs. And his workshops on leadership development for workmen in Hindi are very popular, in fact. And as an NGO observer, he is on the internal compliance committee of several Indian and multinational companies under POSH Act. And Dr. Krishnamurthy is a director on the board of Mega Ace Limited, Nucleus Securities Limited, and he has traveled to Europe on an UNDP fellowship and also on a fellowship of the International Industry Relations Association. We are extremely happy to have you here, sir. Now it is over to you, and I think he will discuss on code on wages, the highlights on the provisions of the code on wages. And yes, sir, you can take 15 more minutes, sir.
So thank you very much, sir. Can you please start the screen sharing, please?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vardhan, for a very nice introduction and the kind words that you uttered.
Thank you.
The subject on code of wages. I will now put off my video because the bandwidth will be too much. So I'm pushing off my video and making the presentation. Am I audible, sir?
Am I audible? You are audible, sir.
Yeah, okay. So this act, the wages code, subsumes 4 basic acts. And they were very important acts. One is the Minimum Wages Act. I think this is the benchmark act for all companies because your wages cannot be below the minimum wages. So this was a very keenly awaited amendment that what is it that this act is going to bring. And then the Wages Act, which was largely confined to people who are drawing less than 24,000 rupees. Those who are drawing more than 24,000 were not governed by this act. So you are not really bound by some of those timelines that were stipulated in the act. Now this 24,000 has been removed. So you will find that the timelines will now apply for all employees, irrespective of whether they are supervisory or managerial categories, largely who were ignored by the provisions of this act. Because many situations, even deduction of wages, the question of 50% deduction, I've seen, in some of the IT and ITES industries, deductions are going into 100% also. Because, they used to take so much loans and, credit cards and all that. Deductions will go out and people will be getting nil salary. So I've seen those situations also. Now all that will be thing of the past. Then Equal Remuneration Act. Now this is basically an act to ensure gender, differentiation is not there, discrimination is not there, and women and men are paid the same. But there's a slight twist in this act, and you are going to have a little bit of problems that are going to come, because of this concept of equal remuneration, same work, same pay. That's going to create a little bit of a difficulty for companies. And of course, the traditional act, the Payment of Bonus Act, bonus has always been considered, in the concept as a deferred wage. So all these are now integrated into one code. And definition of employee, the definition of employee is something which is very wide. It means any person other than an apprentice engaged in the Apprenticeship Act, employed on wages to do any unskilled, skilled, semi-skilled, unskilled, manual, operational, supervisory, managerial, administrative, technical or clerical work for hire or reward. So that means this term will encompass everybody. All those who are employees of the company will be covered by this. So this is the definition of employee, but does not include any member of the government, not include any member of the armed forces of the union. Then definition of wages. Wages means all remuneration. Now, this is a definition. I think the definition of wages has been homogenized. Okay, so under all the different codes, this is the definition there. It includes basic pay, dearness allowance, and retaining allowance. Retaining allowance is some of the industries like the sugar industry, where people are working only during the season. So they are paid a retaining allowance to retain them for the other period of when they are not available in the employment. So there's a small amount paid. That's a retaining allowance. So this basic salary, the wages mean basic pay, dearness allowance, and retaining allowance, but does not include. Okay, now then it says what are exclusions. One is bonus, the value of any house rent, light, etc., that's provided, any contribution to the PF or pension fund, and then it leaves out some of these things which are traditionally been part of allowances, which have been preferred also by the employees because they don't want PF contribution to be made on this. So many companies had developed a wage structure in which these allowances had become substantial. Basic and DA were small. So this is now going to reverse it, and these are not going to be included into the allowances, into the wages. So when you're talking about definition of wages, the allowances will not be included, and key would be like, for example, conveyance allowance. Then any special, like for example, in medical representatives, you're paying them daily allowance, travel bhatta, and all that will not be included in the wages. House rent allowance, and then even remuneration paid under any award or settlement or order of a court or a tribunal, that would not be included. Any overtime allowances, then any commission payable to the employee, any gratuity payable on termination, and retrenchment compensation and ex gratia.